Hello and welcome to episode 154 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is August 22nd, 2022. Today I'm wearing my Vortex shawl. So most of you will know that this is a project that I started 9 years ago. And I knitted the main part of the shawl from the pattern Vortex. It's a free pattern on Ravelry and has these beautiful spirals that grow outward as far as you want to go. And I knitted until I had 100 stitches in each of the 8 sections. And then 7 years ago, I decided to knit this knitted on edge from a different pattern. It's a paid for pattern. And I decided to knit beads into each of the selvage stitches. So it then took me a long time. Most of the time I didn't knit on it, but finally last week, or a bit more than a week ago, I finished the shawl and it's huge and it's beautiful. And one way of wearing it is just folding it in half. That way it's not quite as big and it's a little bit warmer because it's a lace weight cotton yarn, so it's not really very warm, which makes it perfect for summer. And if I fold it in half, it's a perfect length to have over my shoulders and arms, just keep me warm a little bit. And but the more dramatic look is when I fold less than half of the shawl inwards. For example, like this, if I just fold this bit, it means it's wide enough for me to put over my shoulders, but then it's a lot longer. And I will stand up and try and show you. I will stand on my chair. So now this is longer, it goes further down than the screen shows, but I think you get the picture, you know what I'm trying to show you. And I really, really love the shawl. As for the top I'm wearing, it's crocheted from one of my Japanese crochet and knit books. I used the pure cotton millefilly from Wollerödel, and I checked I don't have a project on Ravelry, so there's no Ravelry page to give you information. But before Ravelry existed, I used a book. I used to write down things. I'm not very good at writing, so there are not many things in my life that get written down. But once I started sort of professionally knitting, I started writing things down, and I stopped using the book after I learned how to use Ravelry. And when I started putting all the projects into Ravelry, I stopped using the book. But I looked it up and I found out that I started this top or vest or whatever on March 25th, 2011. And I finished it on the 2nd of April. So it just took me like 2 weeks to crochet the whole thing, which is a bit crazy. But back then I would sometimes, just crochet one thing for a whole week or two and then get nothing else done. But that way I could finish stuff. This was crocheted top down. So I remember crocheting this to and fro. And then not quite sure which I did first, whether I first did the back and then added the front or the other way around. But I remember that once I got to this point, there's this little thing that you have to do here to sort of square off the circle or whatever. But then once you get to here, I crocheted in the round and then you can just crochet down as long as you like. So I crocheted to this length. Very happy with this. I love wearing it. With the light grey, it means I can combine it with just any t-shirt, any top. So that's a really nice thing. Okay. Try and organize this so I can keep it on unless it gets too warm. We'll see. Oh, by the way, the thing that I'm always putting to the side before I step on my chair is this cushion. So this is a sort of plastic thing with air in it. It's like a flat balloon. I don't know. Anyway, I crocheted this cover many years ago when I was working at Vollerödel. And it's the same yarn as this top. It's possible that some leftover yarn from this top made it into this cover. And I'm using it so that I have the right height to be on screen. Being small, yeah, sometimes I need props and stuff to help me. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. Then on to finished objects, and my finished object for today is my August gnome. This is Nikki. So you've seen part of her, you saw part of her last week. I finished her very special body. So her body is unlike any other Nikki body because of all the mistakes I made doing the increases. But yeah, it means she's 3 rounds taller than most other Nikkis and has a very unique set of increases in her body. But she's happy with it. I'm happy with it. I did the little pouch pocket so she can put her hands in. I love that. I used the color one held double with white for both the nose and the beard. Very happy with how that looks. And then the other big change I made with her is I did not sew this down into a spiral, but I put in some wire. So there's some wire in the I-cord, and the only sewing I did is I sewed the end or the beginning of the end of the I-cord. I sewed that to the hat right here. And with the wire, it means I can redecorate the top of her hat. If you look on my Ravelry page, you can see several pictures with different motifs. And also on Instagram, I posted a picture with several, yeah, it's the same as on Ravelry, but I did different things with the top of her hat. Anyway, but that means that Nikki is a really special and unique gnome, and I'm very, I like her very much. I'm very happy with how she turned out. So that's the one finished object for this week. I have one new cast on, so that evens out really nicely. Yeah, but on to works in progress. I'll show you a few old ones before I get to the new cast on. I, again, just knit a few rounds on my socks. These are the Catharine Macaulay socks from the Bluestockings book. And I'm knitting it as part of the pattern battle where one color of our subscription yarn gets picked and everybody knits with the same color yarn, but everybody knits a different pattern. And I'm knitting this pattern, and I started the ribbing. So I decided that this was long enough for the leg. Yeah, so this length means I can put a bit of ribbing on and it won't get too tight over my leg. If I do the ribbing a bit longer, then maybe I'll have to fold it down, but that's okay. So I think I did 6 pattern repeats on the leg. Yep, and I've only just started the ribbing. And I only knit the first round of ribbing to make sure this is where I want the ribbing to start. And now all I have to do this week is finish the ribbing. I think I should be able to do that within a week. I still have quite a bit of yarn left, but that's okay. So I can do a square in my blanket, maybe do a pair of baby socks. We'll see about that. So that's the only socks on my needles, apart from the baby socks I'm going to show later, but the only adult pair of socks I'm knitting. And especially if I finish them this week, I definitely have to start some more socks. We'll see. Still haven't made a plan though. I'm waiting for some yarn by Opal, and once that gets here, there's 2 pairs that I've already planned to knit out of those colors. Yeah, but I should be able to cast something on before that yarn arrives. Okay, so that's the socks for now. Then I'm showing you all the garments I'm knitting. There's 1 garment out of sock yarn only at the moment, but this is the gnome pullover, and you can see I've put the parts together. So I added 7 more rounds to what I had last week. So it still looks fairly small, but I compared it to some other pullovers that I knit, especially the snowflake pullover. That's another pullover with a round yoke that I knit 1 or 2 years ago, and I'm very happy with that fit. So hoping that the yoke section will be similar to that pullover. The length of the sleeve and the front and back in that pullover should be okay. I did the joining round, I did a decrease round, and I knit 1 round on top of the decrease round. So now I can start with the gnomes. I wanted to start on the weekend, but then I realized that I left the colorful yarn here. So both this pink color and this color was here in my shop, so I couldn't start with the gnomes, but that's going to happen this week. Really excited about that. Then the next garment I'm knitting, that's the theatre costume slipover that I'm knitting, and I was using this colorway for the back, and I started knitting the front. So this is the other colorway that I'm using. Oops. And this is what I have done so far. It's mainly been those 2 colors. It started off with this greeny something down here, and then the gray and pink. And the pink is almost done. So then it's going to go into these colors, another kind of green with gray. And this is what the pieces look like together. Yep. So there's going to be a side seam here, and then those colors will come together. But I was told they need a colorful piece of clothing, so that's what they're getting. Yeah, so I'm now going to knit straight until I get to the armhole shaping, and then I'll do that, and then I will have to measure because the front has a lower neckline, so I'll have to be careful to read the instructions to see what happens there. That's that. Then last week my new cast on was the Lechfall top that I'm knitting from a pattern by Nicola Susan from Nicolor, and I'm using this linen cotton something blend, and I continued knitting on that, and I got past the pink bit in the yarn. I was really looking forward to knitting the pink bit. So now I think I've knit all the colors that are in the yarn. So I think I'm back to that color and transitioning into this color. And I think there are 2 more pink stripes in the yarn. Yeah, so that should be good. So this is the back. This is one of the sleeves. And then this is the front. And one of the interesting things about the front is that you cast on stitches and then you immediately increase the number of stitches, and that gives this kind of little ruched effect, or the little folds or whatever. But I really like that. It's probably going to look nicer once the needle is out or further down. Yeah, but I really like the way this looks. I still have to do quite a few increases until I get to the point where I can put the stitches for the sleeves aside, and then start knitting in the round without shaping. Looking forward to that moment. Yeah, so that's that. And then we get to the new cast on. I cast on another sort of top. It's like a sleeveless jacket or a vest. Never quite sure what to call those garments. But I'm knitting from this beautiful book, Coco Knits. I know it's in English in the original, but this is the German translation. This is another book that I was given as a gift for the 5th anniversary of my yarn shop. I was very happy about that. I'd seen the book before, but I had never knit from it. And now I started the first project. And what I'm knitting is this. So this is just a very simple garter stitch. Yeah, more or less sleeveless jacket. When I saw it and I saw that was knit with a yarn that's a bit thicker, I immediately had to think of this yarn. It's called Cashsilk Metal or Metal by Lana Grossa. It's out of their Linea Pura line. And this is a mix of silk, cashmere, viscose and polyamide. And I bought this in a sale years and years ago. And I had a plan when I bought it, what I wanted to do, but then decided against it. So when I saw this jacket or vest, I knew I wanted to do that. The only thing is that I only have like 5 or maximum 6 balls of yarn, which is basically a bit, but it's not enough according to the pattern. But I thought I'll give it a try and see how far I come. And this is the beginning. So with her way of knitting, you usually always start at the neck, then you do shoulder increases. And then if you have sleeves, you pick up stitches here, and then you pick up stitches again from the side of that piece, something like that. And then you can knit the arm together with the front and back all in one go. But it's not a raglan shaping, but it looks like a satin sleeve, but it's still knit all in one thing. I'll show you when I knit one of those pieces, but this is a sleeveless thing. So what you do is you do more of those increases. And I've sort of turned the corner there. I'm now knitting downwards. And once I finish that, I'm going to pick up stitches from, I think from this edge. And then I'm going to knit the 2 fronts. And once I'm below the armhole, because it still has an armhole, even if it doesn't have sleeves, then I'm going to knit the whole thing down in one go. And then I can knit as far as I have yarn. So in order to make sure that I get some sort of top out of it, I did fewer increases than the pattern calls for, thinking this really looks big enough for me. And it means I can knit a bit further, because this is 1 ball of yarn. So I started this yesterday after lunch, and I finished the ball of yarn yesterday. So it's a really quick knit. I'm knitting with 8mm needles. I haven't knit with such big needles in a long time. It's really fast. It's mainly knit stitches. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it's fun to get to know the book, to get to know the method a bit, and it's a very enjoyable knit. So that's the new cast on. Then back to projects that you know. I just realized I have 2 new cast ons. Didn't realize it. The other one is not really technically a new project, so that's probably why I forgot, but you'll find out in a few minutes. I added a few rows to the High Sierra Shawl. So this is the beautiful High Sierra Shawl by Romy from Romy Designs, Rosemary Hill. So when I'm doing those garter stripes in the 2 colors, the rows are getting fairly long, so they take a while, and I just added like 4 rows, I think. I'd knit the black one last time I showed it to you, and now I knit 2 more rows in red and 2 more in black. I have to add a few more, not quite sure how many right now, but yeah, I'll just have to do that. And then my motivation is to get to the next lace pattern, so hopefully I'll get that done soon. Then we're getting to all the crochet projects, 2 of them being blankets, and I'll start with the cotton one, the Talavera blanket from Simply Crochet magazine, and I managed to crochet the 3 rounds that I had planned. So it's not a big difference, it's just those last 3 rounds. 2 of them were just very simple to crochet, and with the blue ones, there was this crossing over thing. Yeah, So not a big difference, not very exciting crochet. The rounds are getting really long, so I think 3 rounds a week is absolutely enough. Yeah, but it's also something that I can manage to do if nothing happens. Okay, and then the dinosaur blanket. I think I again managed to crochet the 10 rows, and yep, this is probably the biggest change you can see. This, last time I was still here before the 3 pieces separated, and this kind of looks weird. I'm not sure whether this is supposed to be offset to the side like this. I think so, but right now I'm not sure. I will have to check the pattern later. It looks a little wonky, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. If it is wonky and if I did get something wrong, maybe that explains this little bit. I think this is the nose, the nostril. So, and I was thinking this looks a little weird, but I didn't go and check the pattern. So yeah, most of the head is done. This is like the other ridge for the eye. I think this is one eye and you can see the pupil, but this one you look from the back, so it's just the outline. And the head is almost finished. So it's probably, I don't know, 1, 2 more rows and then the head is probably going to be finished. And then I have to finish this motif, and then there will probably just be a few more plain rows. And so I'll stand up again next week to show the whole dinosaur off. Yeah, but it's getting really close to the end. I still have quite a bit of yarn left from the 3rd 150-gram balls for each color, so that really should be enough to finish the blanket, which is good. Yeah, so this is coming towards the end. So that's those, and then yeah, we're now at the knit-alongs. So we officially have 2 knit-alongs running. I just realized that I still haven't opened the discussion group for the Viva Vittoria squares. I really have to do that today. I'll do my best. But we also have the little baby socks cowl still running. So I finally cast on the last pair of baby socks that I want to knit for this knit along, and I'm using a leftover yarn. This was her socks last year from the sock couple that I knit every year, and I thought it's such a beautiful bright color. It'd be great to have baby socks in that color, so that's what I'm doing. And these are the new needles that I told you about last week. These are Adi Colibri needles, and I think they just go perfectly together with this yarn because there's this blue and orange and everything in the yarn. And because the needle size is a bit smaller than I usually knit the baby socks, I decided to do a lace pattern. So it's a very simple pattern. I knit socks before, and I called the pattern Renate because I knit it the first time for her. So yeah, it's just a very simple pattern, but I think with the lace pattern it's okay to have a slightly smaller needle so they won't be too tight. And yeah, hope some child is going to like wearing them at some point. So that's the little socks knit along. This is the first of the last pair that I'm knitting right now. And the other knit along, I am knitting I'm crocheting the Kaboom square by Shally Husband out of her book Granny Square Patchwork. And the square is still a circle, but it is a bigger circle than it was last week. I think last week I stopped after I crocheted this line here. This is where the first chart ended, and then the next chart goes over these rounds. And now when I start the last chart, that's when the circle gets squared off. So I'll have 4 points where I do some sort of increases. She's very good at turning circles into squares, so that should be no problem. Really enjoy crocheting with that color from Opal's Rainforest series. This little funny guy who inspired the colors. Yeah, so really enjoying that. And this is a lot more, you could say difficult, you could say more interesting, but the crocheting of this piece is quite different to the blanket that I'm crocheting, and that's probably okay. So for the blanket, there are quite a few rows that are very simple, and then others that are a little less simple. So yeah, it helps you to keep going, but it's not too complicated, especially as the rounds get really long. But with this, there's so many different things going on, and I'm constantly surprised by what's happening next, and hardly anything repeats. So I really do enjoy all the different stitches and all the challenges in this piece. Yeah, so this is the Viva Vittoria square. This is a happening sort of thing happening in Darmstadt next year, and the people organizing it, they want to raise awareness for the topic violence against women. And violence was the word that I couldn't think of a few weeks ago when I first told you about what was happening here. So they want to raise the awareness. So they're asking for squares that are 50 centimeters long. And then they sew 4 of those together to get little blankets 1 meter by 1 meter. And then they want to put them on one of the public places in Darmstadt, just to raise awareness and get people interested, and they will probably hand out information. I don't know what they're going to do, but then in the end once the whole happening is over, they are going to sell the little blankets and then donate the money for 2 organizations who help victims of violence, which is a very good cause, I think. Yeah, that's everything I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!